Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we are doing a pick a card that is to look at what are your spiritual gifts. We have 6 piles, so choose whichever one you are attracted to. There are crystals on each pile, so whichever one is piquing your fancy, go ahead and pick that pile, and then we'll get into it. You can pick more than one pile if you want to, and watch those. But we even have like our special little like trait cards that we made too. So we will shuffle some of those towards the end of each pile to kind of go over what are some of your spiritual gifts and a little bit of how you can utilize them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. If you picked pile 1, you picked this really pretty little desert rose stone. I don't know if you can see that. So this is going to be, what are your spiritual gifts or talents? We have some tarot, we have oracles, and then we actually have our own little deck that we made. It's just kind of a makeshift deck, but it has different gifts and talents. So we'll shuffle some of those at the end. But we'll get started with your tarot. So for your tarot cards, what we did is we have an overall energy for the tarot, and then we have what your gifts are. So it's kind of going to give us an idea, but your overall energy is the Magician. And then for your cards, we got the Moon. We got the Four of Swords. The Eight of Cups. And the Nine of Cups. So right off the bat, what I'm picking up is Master Manifester. Like, whoever picked this group, you are really good at manifesting. And maybe you don't 100% know that, or maybe like that isn't fully clear to you, but you definitely are somebody that can manifest whatever you want, because you have the Nine of Cups, which is wish fulfillment, along with your overall energy of the Magician. You also are really good with intuition. You may have a strong connection to water because you have 3 cup cards. And then you're also somebody who is very good at, you have the rest card. So for me, this is like you're productive even when you think that you're not. Like, you're somebody who goes and goes and goes and goes. And so for you, like, even when you are doing something that's considered quote unquote resting, you're still accomplishing something. And I think that goes along with your manifestation abilities.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I wanted to add is that this group has a lot of protection and guides around you at all times, especially like with that. I mean, first of all, when like I was fine before we started reading, but as soon as we started reading for your group, I felt this like swarm of like spiritual energy that was very cold, and not cold in the way of like, oh, it's scary, like cold, like for me, I find it to end up being kind of like a comforting cold, because I know then that like spirits are around, like, and they're usually like my guides and stuff, so I'm not afraid of them. But with that card and the Four of Swords, I can see that, were they little owls?
They're little burbs.
Yeah, little burbs. And they're like all like, I feel like you're in the center and your guides are constantly around you, so like they want you to, and that's part of your gifts as well, is having a lot of guides that are able to help you manifest and shape. Like, this could even be ancestors. So working with ancestors could be something that really helps you with your manifestation. And like, you could be part of, like, your gifts could be helping other people break their ancestral karma.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's funny you say that. We're going to go ahead and get into your oracle cards. And the first one that you have is Desert Rose, which is time travel, ancestral healing, and patience.
I haven't seen these oracles, by the way, or any of the cards.
And then the other one is Pyrite, which is luck, prosperity, and success, which Pyrite was actually the crystal that I used on pile 2. So if you were attracted to that one and trying to go between the two, then maybe there's something in that for you. And then, of course, Scorpio and Leo are down at the bottom of these cards. So if you're either of those high, that could be some confirmation. So you're somebody that's very, very lucky. and ancestral healing is a big deal for you. You also got the Alchemist.
Yes, those cards are so pretty.
Mhm. You got Sextile, which is opportunity, and it collaborates, assists, explains, provides opportunity, synergizes, creates possibilities for people, opens doors, promises, brings insight to, communicates, welcomes, and develops. So creativity is a big one for you. And again, with that manifestation power in both of those cards. You also got Uranus, which is revolution, breakthroughs, brainstorming, originality, insight, awakening, technology, innovation, humanitarianism, reform, surprise, freedom, experimentation, the unexpected, rupture, edge, diversity, and lightning. So you're somebody who's very unique. And then you got two of these cards, and then there's actually two cards that we'll put after we go over your gifts that are going to be for like helping you with your gifts. So you got Animal Kingdom, and I'm actually going to stick these up here. And you also got the Breath. So breath work could be important for you. And then I think you have a very strong connection with animals. Another thing with that is if you look at the three middle cards, you have an octopus, you have birds, and you have a wolf. So I think animals are something that's very strong for you. You probably feel very connected to animals. And again, like you have that very much like master manifester, like you can create, you know, out of thin air, and like you can quickly do it as well. And of course, I think that shows itself in the Alchemist. It shows it in the Sextile. It shows it, you know, with the Magician and with the Nine of Cups. And then you have luck and prosperity and success. So you have a lot about like being able to create out of nothing and being very lucky, and, you know, being able to really bring anything from above below.
Yes, I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly. Especially the animals, I was picking up on that. And breath work to me makes a lot of sense. I think because a good manifestation technique can actually be breath work. So if you are someone who finds that you're like, I don't know what they're talking about, I manifest all the time and it doesn't really work for me, then maybe breath work is a tool that you can use, because maybe like traditional meditation, it doesn't mean you can't do it, because everybody can, right? Like everyone has the ability to meditate. But I think that you have the ability to manifest through breath work as well. There's so many different kinds of breath work, and like I think that with you, you're going to be able to do that. And so looking into breath work might be something that, and it might actually help you with stress relief too. But in general, I think that that's going to be a way that you guys manifest really well. You can probably do it through breath work and like maybe visualization with breath work. And that just feels, for some reason, your guides keep really talking about that for you guys.
Um,
I'm sorry. I remember why. Because breath work is really great for ancestral healing. That's what they were saying. I'm sorry. I was missing.
okay. And so there's two cards that I drew to kind of help you on your path, because obviously, you know, some things, if we don't know how to use them, then we want to know, like, how can I tap into these? So a couple ways that you can tap into them. Number one, create your own luck. So adventuring. If you are somebody who has not dabbled in crystals yet, or you don't have aventurine yet, I highly recommend getting it. Again, with this luck, like I feel like this crystal is going to help you manifest. It's also a heart chakra crystal, so that could be a chakra that's strong for you. And then you also got Coyote Spirit, which is trust in divine detours. And for me, what that basically says is that with your current situation, like you kind of have to be able to trust your intuition and trust yourself and trust your path. And I think, you know, that's a lot easier said than done. But, you know, it is about knowing that you have these gifts, and the best way to get them is to believe in them. And so really that's the best way to develop it, because with your main gift, which I see as manifestation, like it is about belief, and it is about trust and faith, and like knowing that, like, one, that you deserve this, which again, that heart chakra, one, that you deserve whatever this is, and two, that you can make it happen, which you can. So I think that's like the biggest thing is Spirit is saying, like, if you trust us and you know, follow what we say and you trust yourself and, you know that you're worthy of this, like, then that's how you mastered this gift. And like, that's how these gifts come in, is if you're willing and able to receive them.
Yes, 100% agree with that. I think this group on the animal kingdom, sorry, I keep losing my train of thought, Mercury retrograde, that kind of looks very similar to a coyote to me, but I mean, from far away, from this side, I think that's a horse, but
Yeah.
it looks like a coyote. So I don't know, that could be a strong animal totem for you. Just the fact that I saw a coyote, even though it wasn't a coyote.
You
So
have a
I
coyote
think,
right here.
yeah. So I think that um with this group that I was picking up a lot on that with the idea of like self-doubt, and I feel like as well that you guys have very like clouded minds, because I keep having this issue where it's like my thoughts kind of tumble over each other, and like, I mean, yes, you could say part of that is me, but I feel like it's kind of like it feels like your guides are trying to show me like your thought process and things like that. And so I think part of this is trying to get you to slow down to tap into those gifts, because it could, part of it could be that you're trying to manifest and then you want like instant results and then you're like, oh, it doesn't work. That's kind of like the energy, and they're like, no, slow down, breathe, let things play out. And that could be another reason why they want to bring up like these different healing modalities, because they want to show you that it's not just one way. Like, it's not just sitting down and meditating and visualizing. Like, manifestation can be so many different ways, and if that's your main gift, some of these other gifts you have might tap into it to fuel it. You might find that you like to grow these other gifts, and then that somehow helps you lead back to your manifestation. Like, it's just a very much a, like I said, like um I feel like this constant like and Becca kind of picked up on that as well when she was talking about how like you might be go go go, and that's very much what this feels like, in especially like with your brain. It feels like you're kind of like constantly on top of yourself, like one thought after another, and your guides are like, slow down so you can harness this ability, because you have great abilities, but you're so focused on trying to get to the end that you don't stop to enjoy the journey of what it is like to grow those gifts and to see the progress that you've made from day one to now.
So we're going to shuffle these and see what gifts they send out for you. As far as what are some of the other gifts that you can tap into or look into, I highly recommend, like, if you see things come out that you've never seen before, to Google them, research them, go on YouTube. So we'll see what they have for you. Astral travel, that's come up already. Alchemy.
That came up too.
Yep. I'll give them a few more shuffles here to get out some more. They're being very selective with your gifts. Yoga.
Okay, that goes with breath work as well.
Mm-hmm. That could be something that helps you kind of shake up that excessive amount of energy that you might have. Oh, there you go. Hydromancy, reading water. Psychometry, which is psychic touch. I'll get a couple more. Okay. Or four. Crystals. which I was kind of picking up on with the adventuring. Cooking and baking, colors. I don't know if that's going to focus. And then the last one, they actually sent this out, but I wasn't 100% sure about it, but they sent it out again. So conchomancy, which is seashell divination.
Okay.
So those are some gifts for you to look into and kind of see if those things resonate with you. I would definitely check them out on Google, check them out on YouTube. I know, for instance, like with colors, like that could come into play with like auras and crystals because you can have those around you. So doing things like surrounding yourself with certain colors or incorporating those more in your life can really help you. Cooking and baking is pretty self-explanatory, but you might be able to like speak into your food, like affirmations. Doing things like that can really help you. With crystals, like I said, if you don't have something like aventurine, even if you hold it while you're, working or doing something like that, or you wear it on like a bracelet while you're, just living your life, like that can help you a lot. But I think crystals are very healing. And those can be very helpful for you. Psychic touch is when you touch things and you can get intuitive hits off of them. Hydromancy, reading water. So when water has like when it moves, or when you look into the water, if you can see like images or pictures or words or whatever, you pick up off of that. Alchemy really is just manifestation, and astral travel is traveling into a different realm. Usually that happens when you sleep. So those are kind of some high level overview of what those gifts are from me, at least.
Mm-hmm. And I think, just if you feel like some of these gifts don't apply to you, then, of course, please remember this is a general reading. And, maybe just one or two really stick out to you, or maybe you are interested in all of them, and that's awesome. And, you should definitely look into all of them. I think people astral travel a lot more than they realize. Like when you're daydreaming, when you're sleeping, like we tend to do a lot of that. So dream journal seems like it'd be really good for you guys to have, to kind of see like where you go. You probably learn a lot of lessons. And um, I would say that when you translate your dreams, try and think of the symbolism of what that dream is and what it means to you before you look it up online. Because sometimes like what's online is someone else's interpretation and their interpretation might not fit with you. And so maybe some of you have had a dream journal and you feel like it hasn't worked for you because you've immediately gone to Google what something means and it doesn't seem to fit. So sometimes you have to take the imagery and say, okay, well, how does this apply to me in my life? Like, what could this mean before you look it up? And then, of course, you can always ask someone else, or get a service of having someone translate your dream for you. But with that moon card, I think that your intuition already knows what your dreams mean. And you might just need to sit down. Maybe there is someone who can help you like hash it out. But it feels like it's very important for you to try to figure out your dreams first before you look to outside sources. That's something that they wanted to mention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully that gives you kind of an idea of some things that you can look up, some things that you can research and kind of tap into, and a little bit of help on how to start doing that. But that is what we had for you. If you were, interested in one of the other piles, go ahead and, you can pick one of those as well. Like I said, one of the crystals came out for pile 2 is the crystal I put as the crystal topper. So if you were interested in that one, check that out. Otherwise, leave us a comment, hit like, subscribe, catch us on Twitch, but hopefully we will catch you in the next reading.
Mm-hmm. Bye, guys.
If you chose pile 2, you chose this really pretty pyrite crystal. So we have some tarot, we have some oracles, we also have our little handmade cards that have different gifts on them. So we'll shuffle those at the end. But basically, this is to tell you what are some spiritual gifts or talents that you have, and a couple of cards about how to tap into them. So we're going to start with your overall energy. So the overall energy for this deck is the Wise Counselor, which is actually the Hierophant. Unity with a spiritually minded community. So this is somebody who's a teacher. So that's coming out like right away. Is this is someone who's you're from somebody who is, I'm sorry, Mercury retrograde. You're someone who is very wise and who is very good at teaching others. That's already coming out. So you have 4 cards for your gifts. So your first card is the Sun. You have the Queen of Wands. You have the Six of Swords. And then you have the Ace of Cups.
Oh, pretty.
I know, very pretty. So for me, what I pick up off of this right away is that you're somebody who's very sunshiny, somebody who has a lot of positivity and doesn't really let themselves get like pulled down. You're someone who could possibly have some creative talents because you have the Queen of Wands, you have the Sun that has like fire on it, and then it has sunflowers, which are a sign of creativity as well. And then you also have some water energy in here too. Even though this is an air card, because there's so much water, this also makes me think like watery. So you might be somebody who's really good with your emotions, and you might actually be someone who's very good at expressing your emotions because she's like offering the cup here. So this is, you are somebody who has the ability to help other people move on from things, but also through however you express your emotions, it's because they relate to you that you're able to kind of show them how to deal with those things. So I kind of feel like you do have some sort of creative ability or some expressive way that you can express emotions and things that you've gone through in your life. And that helps people to also go through those things and move forward. You're also someone who's very good at knowing like when to move on from something and when to stay in something, but you're also very passionate. And I feel like there's a lot about like the different elements in here. So you might be somebody who has some elemental powers, which we'll get into that a little bit deeper with our homemade cards because they have like different things for certain elements. So I wouldn't be surprised if you got some either like fire or water in your element cards. So that's kind of what I'm picking up as far as those go, but I'll let Lena talk on it because I'm sure that your guides are speaking to her.
I mean, mostly the only thing that I got from this, I mean, like, yes, a lot of the things that Becca already said, of course, but um, right away after putting down these cards, they started playing 8 by IU and Suga from BTS. And like, they're giving me that line specifically from it that's like the forever young. So I feel like you guys have with that, especially with that Sun, a very young disposition. You guys are young at heart. You're like in the Queen of Wands. Like the Queen of Wands is literally known as the life of the party. So like she's someone who is sociable. Everybody likes her. Like she's very charismatic. And that can be part of your gift too, is your personality, like your humor, your light, your laugh, like the way that you can. And with a song coming through, I feel like that can also be that maybe some of the way that you deliver this is through the arts, like through music, through actual like painting, could be writing, but since we did get a song, I'm really feeling like it could be music. And like cups definitely deal a lot with emotion and can be about creativity as well, just as much as wands. So it feels like how to first of all, how to lighten people's moods with just your own energy with that Queen of Wands and the Sun. But then on top of that, it feels like you also know how to channel those deeper emotions into some type of art form. And that can be how you teach. So like if you're not resonating, like thinking like, well, I'm not really a spiritual teacher, I don't want to be a teacher, like you don't have to be a traditional teacher to be a teacher and someone that helps people and changes their lives. You can be someone who has your own podcast, you can be someone who writes your own music, you can be someone who writes books, you can be someone who, you know, um, volunteers a couple times a year, and yet when you're there you offer infinite wisdom. Like it's so different for every single person, but definitely feel like your energy is a big part of your gift.
I would agree. So we're going to go into your oracles. We have Rose Aura Quartz, which is Heart's Desire, Love, and Divine. And then we have Bixbite, which is Timing, Action, and Change. And then I'm actually going to move this up, and we'll probably cover these up a little bit, just to kind of give you more room for your oracles. But you have Share Wisdom. How well does that go with Wise Counselor?
Mm-hmm.
We have the fifth house, which is Passion. So that playful energy again. Performance, entertainment, creativity, costume, play, love affairs, passion, pleasure, parties, children, humor, romance, and disco ball. Were you gonna say fifth house?
Yeah, I was gonna say I should have mentioned with the sun the Leo energy, because then that's more Leo energy.
It is. Ascendant, which is outlook, worldview, mission statement, expression, effect, role, mark, attitude, outer self, point of view, body image, aura, likeness, approach, impact, and first impressions. With that, you might actually be able to read auras as well. And then you have the two mediumship deck cards that I have for you are Create a Sacred Space, which again, creativity. And then you also have Divine Nudges, which is synchronicities, is basically what that card's about. So for me, what I get off of your oracles is that you're someone, again, who is very wise, but also someone who's very playful and very creative. Somebody who has the potential to read auras. You're somebody who can basically change the energy in a room when you walk into it. And again, that goes back to that energy that Lena was talking about, like the life of the party, like childlike, like humor, like funny, like really fun to be around. You're somebody who gets a lot of synchronicities. So you might see a lot of like angel numbers, or you might see a symbol pop up over and over again. So like, for instance, like for me, like the butterfly is a symbol of mine. So whenever, like if I see the butterfly a lot, I know that that's like my guides or my angels like trying to talk to me. So you might get like repetitive symbols or repetitive numbers a lot. And those are divine nudges and synchronicities. Usually the more that you get those, the more that you're like following your path, and like it's there to kind of guide you. You might not get those. Again, this is a general reading. So if you don't, and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, like just remember it's general, so take what resonates. But for me, another thing is you're somebody who seems to be very rooted and very grounded and very stable. So somebody who is probably more root chakra oriented and solar plexus as well. So especially with the sun and the Leo energy and the creativity, like there's a lot of like solar, actually the bottom three, solar plexus, sacral, and root chakra in this group. So you might, operate a lot from that space, and you might go through a lot of change in your life, but with that change, you're so rooted that you're able to get through it without it really affecting you too much. Obviously, there's always going to be stuff that affects us, but I feel like this group is very grounded and is very good at making sure that like they're in a very stable place and very balanced.
I agree with that 100%. And with that, the Ascendant card is the one that's really sticking out to me because it talked about like image and body image and things like that. So for some of you, this could be about, being positive being positive advocates, like online. I'm picking up like influencers. This could be, again, like someone who seems like they're destined to be like in the spotlight. Again, a very Leo like quality. It seems like you are destined to have your name out there because you're someone that is going to inspire. And so even if it's just in your own community, right? Like say that you're young and you're in student council and you are the president, like you have to take that role very seriously because a lot of people look up to you. So you have this ability to lead and to inspire, and it's a very, very beautiful gift of yours, one that a lot of people look to you for advice and guidance and wisdom, and you do it with such an ease. Like a lot of the time I think you don't even realize how much a lot of the things you say are really wise, but they are. And so you just have to basically be yourself, and you are going to change so many lives, which is a really beautiful gift to have.
It is. And then one thing I forgot with the Rose Aura Quartz, this not only talks about the divine, but it talks about love and heart's desire. And for me, what that means is like you have a strong ability to chase your passion. But not only that, but you also have a lot of love to give. And I feel like that's something that you express very freely. And Spirit kind of wants you to continue doing that and to not worry about like what other people think or say, and to just keep, staying in your power, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 cards for what you can do to kind of tap into any gifts that come up or that have already come up. One of them is clear quartz, which is get crystal clear. You can, I was talking to group 1 about this, but if you're not somebody that's super into crystals, like even if you want to just start this, clear quartz is like one of the first crystals to start with, in my opinion, because it's very basic. And what it does is you can kind of program it to do whatever you want, but it's really good at clearing out anything that's not serving you and kind of keeping things very like light and airy. You also got flamingo spirit, which is embrace the in between. So for me, what this tells me is right now you might be in a place where like things feel a little bit unsteady because you don't really know for sure what's coming next, or like you might feel like you're kind of in a place where like, okay, well, I was working on this thing and now I'm like trying to figure out what my next project's going to be or where to go from here, but like you're not really getting a sense of direction from spirit so much. What they're basically saying is like right now it's about living in the moment and embracing the in between and allowing yourself to be in that space without judging it and without worrying too much about what's going to come next, because like you're the creator of what's going on around you. So whatever you want to do, whatever you want to create, like that's for you to do. And so if you feel like you're kind of in a place where you're like, well, I don't even know what to do next, like, they're
Mm-hmm.
saying, well, don't worry too much about it and just like do. Like embrace that in between right now and don't fret too much about the past. Don't worry too much about the future and kind of try to be in the present. And then get crystal clear, basically like kind of lighten up and keep in that light energy, because that's where your creativity and your humor and all of that shines the most, is when you're in that lighter energy. And so sometimes because you're so grounded, like you might have a tendency to get too grounded. And they're saying like make sure that you also keep it light at the same time.
Yes, sorry, they gave me another song and I can't remember the name of it, so I'm looking it up. So, like, give me 1 second.
Okay. While she does that, I'm going to shuffle your cards to see what gifts you have. So I'll shuffle these live. I know you're probably not going to be able to see them, but yeah, some of this came out for pile 1, so I'm not surprised. I told pile 1 they actually had pyrite as one of their crystal cards, and this group had pyrite as the topper. So if you were drawn to pile 1, I recommend maybe going back and watching that if you felt compelled to do so. If you were trying to choose between the two, you might have some stuff in there. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. This group got a little bit more than pile 1 did. Okay, that's all I'm taking. That's it. Okay, you got quite a few. So some of these are the same as group 1, which, like I said, if you felt drawn, go watch it. You got hydromancy, reading water. You got moon magic, sound healing. It's not really focusing, but that's fine. You got crystal ball or scrying. You got breath work, which group 1 also got breath work. You got clairaudience, so that is clear hearing. So you might hear songs pop into your head, or shufflemancy might be something for you. Auras, which I picked up on earlier. Life coaching.
That makes sense to me with all the teaching.
Clairvoyance, which is seeing. So a lot of third eye activation. You and group 1 also got this in common, cooking, baking. You got astral travel, which also came out in group 1. And then I laughed because your last one is teaching.
Oh, I'm so upset that I can't remember this song. If I do remember it, I promise I will have Becca put it in the description. But it's like, I just remember that it says something about I'm a terrible, like, I know the lyrics, that's why I'm so mad. It's like, I know it, but I can't remember who sings it, so I can't look it up. Just like, and then when I tried to type in the lyrics, it didn't pop anything up. So I was like, oh, good. It must be like a lesser known artist. So much fun. It's just something that the essence of that song is about this person that's been, and Becca was talking earlier about you guys being, in situations like where you know when to leave and when to stay. And the essence of this song is about this person that says like, oh, hold on. I think I just, okay, it's Bright Lights and Cityscapes by Sarah Bareilles. Oh my god, it was bothering me. Okay, I found it. But this song is basically about like, this person that like, it talks about like, I'm the writer and like she's the muse and the one that like you always choose. And so you might have gone through a lot of life feeling second best, and you might have a lot of stories about that, and about like, you might be that could be part of your gifts, is like learning to empower others and helping them take their power back, because I think you've been learning to take back yours. And like this song talks a lot about like how like I'm gonna love you, and like I'm gonna love you really well, and like I wouldn't need a second chance. And I almost feel like this is about you going on that journey of loving yourself. And like, when you do fall in love with someone because you have that crystal about love, you're in it and you're a dedicated person. And that just goes for like anyone that you love, not romantic or platonic. Like, you're loyal to people to a fault. It's, again, this is another very big Leo quality. So we definitely probably have some Leos in this group or somewhere in your chart. But this very much feels like to me like this, that's part of your power is, you have this ability to now see the, things that have happened in your past, and see how like they've shaped you and how they've helped you find your power. And I think you're going to be really instrumental, with what you do in your life, no matter what that is, in helping other people kind of find their own. And I think that that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And hopefully, some of these resonated with you. If you've never heard of some of these things, I highly encourage you to look into them, and kind of see if those fit for you. Obviously, this is a general reading, so some of these might not fit you, but I would definitely recommend it. I feel like a lot of them would. And again, if you wanted to watch pile 1, you should do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that is kind of what we had for you for your gifts. So hopefully that resonates for you. If you'd like to pick a different pile, you can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, leave us a comment, a like, hit subscribe. Let us know if there was anything in here that you were like, yes, that's totally me. Or like, ooh, I'm super interested in that. We would love to hear from you. Catch on Twitch on Mondays and Wednesdays. But hopefully that resonated, and hopefully you guys have a good time until the next reading.
Okay, guys. So just before we go, real quick, remember Bright Lights and Cityscapes by Sarah Bareilles. Spirit played for you, and 8 by IU and Suga. Okay, so we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
If you chose pile 3, you chose the lepidolite. Great crystal. So we are going to see what are your spiritual gifts or talents. Maybe some stuff in here you might know about already, maybe some of it you won't. It is a general reading, so keep that in mind and take what resonates. We have tarot, we have oracle, and then we actually have our own little homemade cards that have little that have different gifts and talents on them, and we'll shuffle those at the end. But we'll go ahead, we'll start with your tarot, and we start with the overall energy for this because that's how spirit wanted me to do it. And you guys actually got two cards for your overall energy, and they shuffled separately. I swear to you, this deck has been shuffled a million times. But the first one is the Empress, and your second one is the Emperor.
That duality.
Mm-hmm. And then for the gifts, you have Transformation and the Tower.
Okay.
And then you also have the Six of Pentacles, Six of Earth, and the Page of Fire. So what I pick up immediately off of this is, like Lena said, duality, but also a lot about transformation and a lot about going through different phases. You're somebody who's very good at reinventing yourself. You might have a lot of Scorpio in your chart. That's a potential for you. If not, doesn't mean it's not your reading. It's just that Scorpios tend to go through a lot of transformation. So it's very possible. You also seem to be somebody who's very good at like balancing energies. You're somebody who's very generous, but somebody who's very good at staying grounded. You are probably someone who's pretty creative. The Page of Fire is usually like a student of creativity, or a student of spirit. So if you know, resonate with that a little bit, like you might be somebody who really likes to learn things, and you might have a lot of knowledge, but you might constantly seek out knowledge in relation to like different creative pursuits. Or you just may be a creative person in general in some way, shape, or form. But there's a lot in here. You have 4 major arcana cards. So that seems pretty powerful. So I feel like you have a very strong energy about you. So you might be somebody who can kind of change the feeling of the room when you walk into the room. And you also have a lot of like, I almost feel like fire energy because this, well, the Emperor is Aries, but even with just these cards, like there's a lot of reds and a lot of like, you have the Page of Fire and Transformation that have fire on them. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, like you might be somebody who's very passionate and is able to really work with the fire element a lot. So you might do like candle magic, or you might, you know, be able to scry into flames or read smoke or something like that. But I also feel like you have the ability, because you go through all of these transformations, to help other people also go through transformation. And that might be part of your balance and like, you know, your rootedness and like why you go through this is so that you can share that with others in some way, shape, or form, possibly through a creative talent.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that 1000%. The first 2 cards are the ones that are really sticking out to me with the overall energy. And I think it's because your biggest gift is your energy. Like, I think you're someone that tends to walk around with your gift on all the time. And like, because a lot of us in life, we tend to kind of like with our gifts, like, right? Like, we channel for a couple hours and then we go back to like daily life. We kind of pull away, we detach. But I feel like this is a group where with that Empress and Emperor energy that's like so strong, and your presence, like your own aura, feels like it's one of your bigger gifts, and it feels like that's part of your power, and you don't realize how much your own aura affects other auras around you. I feel like you have the ability to help people with all aspects of their life, because that is like, you know, a very big like masculine feminine energy. I feel like you know how to balance those energies really well. You know how to be soft, yet you know how to take charge. And it's just a matter of like, I think it's just about knowing that you deserve that, and that you're allowed to stand up in that power. And it is about that duality and knowing how to balance. And then like even more about that, because we have like the transformation and the Tower, which for me is a lot about like change, growth. It is about learning to balance those 2 different sides of ourselves. because like the Empress is normally represented in by a lot of like tarot and astrology by the Libra, and then the Emperor is represented by Aries, and they are like opposite signs. Like I forget what that's called exactly, but they're the 6 months apart signs basically. And that is again about a duality. They are opposite each other, yet they work really well together. Like you can have people in your life that's a Libra and Aries, and even though they're so different, they're also very, very similar at the same time, and they get along really well. And so you know how to harmonize your own energy, and it really does show, and people really like and respect you, and you have big leadership abilities. And that is definitely one of your like one of that's the main gift that Spirit is like, yes, let's talk about that. And I'm like, okay.
Yes. And then really quick before I get into your oracles, I was being drawn to this tower card. Um, it's interesting because this deck is a little bit different with their imagery, but this reminds me of Atlantis. So you might have some connections to Atlantis, or you might have connections to like other dimensions in some way. But that was coming in pretty strongly off that card as well. So we have, for your oracles, we have Lazulite, which is cosmic serenity and peace. And then we have purple tourmaline, which is grounding, protection, and serenity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pop these on top of these other cards. I know it's a little blurry. Hold, please. You have the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
You have quincunx, sorry, complexity, Mercury retrograde, and it's a hard word. Irritates, puzzles, mystifies, complicates, contradicts, clashes, requires translation, adjusts, makes curious, educates, and transforms.
Michael just said, just call it Quinny X.
Quinny X, yes. And then you also got third house, which is perception, speech, thoughts, social media, excursions, dating, siblings, research, street life, circulation, discussions, surroundings, and sociability. It also has art on here, and then photography. And then your two cards from the mediumship depth, you got psychic touch and finding the stillness, so meditation.
I was going to mention meditation because as soon as I saw those shoes, Spirit said walking meditations, and I was like, got it.
Yeah, so for me, again, this just goes back to like the whole transformation, creation, like very much feeling that like art vibe from this group, but it's very much you transform, and the way that you help people also go through that is by expressing it through art in some way, shape, or form. I feel like you're also somebody who's very good at grounding, which is probably why you need meditation more often, is because not only do you need to stay grounded in a good place, but sometimes you might get overgrounded and need to kind of connect yourself to spirit a little bit more. So that's possibly why meditation is so important for you, but also is a strong suit. And then psychic touch, so basically touching things and being able to get like intuitive hits or visions or memories or whatever it may be off of objects or people. You might be able to also pull emotions off of people and objects. So you might be someone who can feel emotions just by touching people and things. You might be an empath as well. So those are kind of what I'm picking up from those.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay. And then
wait, sorry. I wanted to add, you guys might also be really good with like, well, two things, sorry. One is with the Emperor and the Empress, and I meant to say this earlier, but it's reinforced now. I think you guys are really good with working in groups, maybe more than you think, because that gives me like a partnership vibe. So you might be good with working with others, and again, like helping others, which we talked about. And then on the Quinny C card, or Quinny X cards there, we have 2 puzzle pieces. And that makes me think again of like teamwork, working together, like people who are different or have opposing energies. Like you might be able to work with people of all different backgrounds, all different things. Like you find a way to, like I said, harmonize. And then with the third house, like that gives me that same kind of like communication, learning. Like that's kind of like what I was getting. You might like to riddle things together. That could be part of your um gifts, as well as like knowledge and knowing how to put things together that don't seem like they would make sense, but then somehow they do, because you have an eye to figure that out to create something new.
Mhm. Yes, definitely. So we have just a couple cards on how to kind of tap into your gifts, and then we'll do the homemade cards that have different gifts on them that you can look into. For your recommendations for how to look into it, you have Labradorite, which is see the magic.
I'm holding a piece of labradorite right now.
And then you have Koala Spirit, which is spirit has a plan. So right now for you guys, I think really what they're saying is to trust them, trust in spirit and trust in your path, and know that like magic is everywhere and like you create magic too. And I think like it's very much about like the things that you make, the things that you do, all of your gifts, like all of this is magic. um and I think like spirit is really saying like trust us, because like even though like sometimes it may not feel like you're going the right way or like things aren't making sense, like you're on the right path. And so, try to do your best to trust in spirit and your guides and whatever is guiding you, that you are
Mhm.
doing the right thing and you are going the right way. And that's kind of what I'm getting for the recommendation right now.
And spirit says that when you're in that space of being overgrounded and like you can't really hear them, that something to try and remember is that things don't always stay the same. Like it's not always a rainy day, right? So things always move. And on top of that, um, like things eventually work out, right? Like they don't all, like you're never just in a state of sad or hard times forever. Like eventually something has to give, something changes, because life is always about the regression to the means, because life is both, has both ups and downs. And so the regression to the mean is like when you get back to that place of balance, knowing that the scale sometimes tips in your favor and sometimes doesn't, but yet it always comes back to the middle, comes back to center. So you have to know that if you're in a hard spot, that doesn't, you're, that means something good is going to happen. And if you are in a really great spot, it just means, like you're not, you also have to know it doesn't mean that you should then be like expecting the other shoe to drop. No, 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 of course not, because like you should enjoy the moments that you're there. But the thing is that when we are in a good moment, most of us don't think about when the shoe's gonna drop. It's sometimes we do, but most of us kind of like we're in that moment so much because we're so happy that we don't usually spend too much time thinking about other things. um but it's just about knowing that you can always come back to center, knowing that things will never stay stagnant, you will move, and at some point something will work out. So like if you're like, it's like that saying, if you're going through hell, keep going, because eventually you will reach heaven.
Yeah, definitely. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually shuffling these out for you. So these are different cards that have different talents and gifts on them. And so we'll see how many your guides want to send out. I'm laughing. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, I'm limiting this. Okay. They would send out all of them if they could, I know. So you
Yeah,
got
that's
music. You got Claire Gustance, which is actually Claire Taste. Tarot and Oracle. Channeling. Alchemy. So manifestation. Clair Aliens, which is Clair Smelling,
Clear sniff.
Clair Sniff, Animals, Meditation, Auras, and Clair Audience.
With all the thing about art too, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys had a very strong clairvoyance as well, even though it didn't come out.
Yeah. Like I said, they would probably have sent out the entire deck if they could have, because they were still sending out stuff. But, I'm trying to make it fair.
Yes, they said that when you grabbed the deck and you said you were gonna shuffle, they said just drop the whole deck down, and I was like, she's not gonna do that.
No.
So you
No,
guys have a lot of gifts and abilities. This might be a popular pile, meaning that there's lots of gifts you can look into. So go with what your intuition tells you. But again, like I said, your aura is your biggest gift. So I'm not surprised that came out. Your own essence of being is your gift, is your biggest gift.
yes. So you are special and you are magic, is pretty much. Like, you can do whatever you want. You just, have to be patient with yourself and believe. That's the biggest thing. But hopefully that gives you an idea. If you have not seen all of these before, you're like, ooh, that sounds really interesting. Go ahead and look it up, check it out, see what you can figure out about it, explore. But hopefully that gave you an idea of what your gifts or your talents are. If you liked it, please give us a like, hit subscribe, leave us a comment, talk to us about what you think, or if you want more information, ask us questions. We would love to answer you. If you were interested in one of the other piles, please go and check that out as well. But that is what we had for you. So hopefully we will see you in our next reading.
Bye, guys.
If you chose pile 4, you chose the amethyst, one of my favorite crystals of all time. So with this reading, this is going to be all about your spiritual gifts and talents. So we will go in, we'll look and see tarot, we have oracle, and then we actually have our little homemade cards that have different gifts and talents on them that we'll shuffle at the end. So we're going to look and see. Now, take this as it resonates, because this is a general reading. So not all of this will apply for every single person. But this will give you kind of an idea of what to look into and what some of your gifts may be. So we will start with your overall energy for this pile, which is the King of Swords. And then for your gifts, they sent out the Moon, the Sun, so duality right there, the 10 of Cups, and the Devil. So for me with this deck, shadow work is immediately popping out for me, as well as duality. You're somebody who is very good at going into those shadows and balancing them out. So you might be somebody who goes through a lot of different like death and transformations. You might have Scorpio in your chart. You could also have Capricorn, because the Devil is Capricorn. And then this is air signs for the overall energy. The King of Swords is someone who's very, very intelligent and very wise, somebody who's very good with communication. So it would not surprise me if you are somebody who is in your mind a lot of the time, and you might have a lot of knowledge, and communication and knowledge are both gifts. So those are both really great gifts to have. And I think you might be somebody who is able to communicate about this duality or about these shadows that you work with. And you might actually be able to help other people out with their shadows and with their duality, and understanding like how to balance that and how to go in there and actually work on yourself and go through transformations. And you got the 10 of Cups, which is someone who is very emotionally stable, someone who has like emotional fulfillment. And I think somebody who's able to really express that and be a nurturer of others as well. So you might be able to really help other people balance their emotions, not only just their like dualities and their shadows.
And you guys are also super, super. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a lot of writers in this group, or like lyricists, because, or something to that effect. Because with the Ten of Cups and the King of Swords, like that gives me very much like um way with words and like poetry. Like you, maybe the way you speak, maybe the way that you sing, maybe like you do write poetry, or you write, you know, really well. Like you can write really beautiful words that really resonate with people. And for me, like that's um I think that's part of your major gift, is the communication that you have to transfer like what you feel um into, you know, words, and like, you know, some type of like art or form of expression. um with the devil, I think, yeah, you have a tendency to get a little bit caught in your head, and you do go through a lot of like that inner turmoil. But it is because you then know how to transmute those things, and you help other people see that they can as well. um the only thing I would say is that like your words hold a lot of weight for people, so you have to be very careful with your words. You can be very precise and sometimes come off a little bit cold and cutting, but it is, you know, and I think that you're very honest in your work because of that. Like honesty is big for this group. Like you won't be caught telling a lie. Like you would rather spit out a ugly truth than spin a pretty lie for anyone to be around. Even like I said, at the expense of potentially hurting someone's feelings. So you would be someone who I would say would be a great like teacher, coach, and you would just, I think, or guys just want to make sure that you know that you have that ability to be this responsible. And if you do get into those positions of power, make sure that you know, I think you guys will, because I don't sense any negative energy from this group. But just as a warning to remember that your words hold weight, and that you guys have to know how to yes, your sharp tongue is a gift, but don't use it to stab, is basically what they're saying.
That makes a lot of sense. Something else while Lena was talking that they were talking about is you're very intuitive, and you're probably an empath. So with the Ten of Cups and the fact that you have like the moon, like you might be somebody who has a very strong intuition, but you also are you have a sensitive side, I think, that's kind of hidden under there, because you have that Ten of Cups water energy. So those were a couple things they wanted me to point out, is that you might be an empath and you might be very intuitive as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for your crystals, they actually gave me 3 of these. So the first one is hematite, which is grounding, magnetic pull, and focus, which makes a lot of sense. You got lepidolite, which actually, if you are interested in group 3 at all, they got lepidolite. I didn't even notice that. They had lepidolite as their crystal for their topper. But lepidolite is transition, release, and change. So again, change kind of going through that like devil and like that Scorpio energy too. And then the last one you got is amethyst, which is protection, trust, and intuition. So there's the intuitive. You got speak truth. You got the yeah, here's the Scorpio. Oh, you got 2 of those too. Wow. Well, they were really nice to you. You got the death card from this deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Aries, which is active, self-starting, daring, fierce, assertive, fiery, exhilarating, innocent, on a mission, bossy, driving, sparky, courageous, selfish, macho, impulsive, argumentative, and competitive. And you got the 8th house, which is Scorpio's house, which is intimacy, it's investments, intensity, contracts, secrets, mysteries, obsessions, inheritance, kundalini energy, stalking the underworld, and of course, sensuality and the S word that we will not say on YouTube. And then the other 2 that we pulled were gifts from the mediumship deck. You got symbols. And then you also got thought power, so like telepathic communication. which is a lot to unpack. But basically, it goes a lot with your tarot cards because you have like this death, rebirth, transformation, and speaking your truth, which was really the main messages in the tarot for you. So again, like I think they're really reiterating like you're somebody who's very good at transformation, very good at speaking your truth, of communication. You again got the Scorpio and then the Aries, so somebody who's very bold and expressive and probably pretty creative as well. You also got transformation, intuition, and then of course grounding and then focus for me stood out on this card. So you might be somebody who's really good at grounding your energies and pretty good at utilizing like probably maybe like meditation, something like that, to help you with that. You have intuition as well. So, like I said, with the moon, like you might be someone who's very intuitive. You might get a lot of hits. And with these colors, third eye is standing out a little bit to me, especially if you have like this thought power card, because telepathic communication generally rules through the third eye or the crown chakra. So that could be that for you. And then symbols, so you might have like repeating patterns, repeating symbols, a lot of synchronicities. You might be able to pick up information off of symbols, so like you might be someone who's really good with like charm casting, or something similar to that is kind of what I'm picking up.
I'm laughing because you said right before you said meditation, I had heard focus on me like a meditation.
Of course.
Well, yeah. Which is a Monster X song, and it is evading me which one. Or is it just CK's song?
No, it's a Monster X song. I'll look that up while you
But basically what I get from that line that Spirit is telling me is that you have an Aries, because Aries tend to be kind of like showstoppers. And then again, you have the sun, which is Leo. So there's some potential Leo energy here as well. There's a lot of fire energy, fire and water. So like you have a very like, again, a duality, a pull, a push and pull to yourself. And I think that makes you really interesting to people, is that you have those two different sides to you. And you tend to like command the attention. You tend to like, people are interested in you, they're fascinated by like your mystery, by your intrigue. What is that person thinking, what are they doing? Like, and thought power not only is telepathic communication, but like what, again, how we talked about your words have weight, well, so do your thoughts. So if you're someone who is constantly in a negative mind space about yourself, you're going to manifest that into your life because your thoughts are that powerful. So you need to be constantly, looking at yourself. And that's probably part of why you reinvent yourself so much. You have a lot of death and rebirth because you're always growing, because growth is really what helps you propel forward in life. And when you stop doing that, and when you start being really hard on yourself and stuff like that, that's when you get stagnant and you get really frustrated. And so again, I think this is about like you guys, knowing that about yourselves and knowing like, okay, I'm constantly moving and flowing and changing because that's part of my gift. Like part of your gift is the way that you think about yourself, the way that you see the world, the way that like, so if you're thinking, like if your thoughts are on the fact of like, I'm abundant, I am, magnificent, I am magnetic, I command attention, I am successful, you're going to easily manifest that into your life. But if your thoughts are, I suck, I'm never going to do this, this is never going to happen for me, you are going to create that reality for yourself. So, be very careful about your thoughts. And that doesn't mean you can never have a negative thought. Like, no, we don't preach that here. Everybody has a bad day, but if you find yourself majority of the time beating yourself up, it is a time to start looking at like affirmations, meditations, things like that are going to help reprogram the subconscious mind, so that the dominant things that you're thinking are, I can do this, rather than these are all the reasons why I can't. But I think that you guys have a really good drive. And so if you do have this issue, I think that once you put like a little elbow grease into it, you'll be able to overcome this quite easily. And you'll be able to like really change up your life and have such a like I said, this is such a very like, definitely that Scorpio, Leo, like very fixed energy. Like when you guys have your mindset on something, that's also that thought power. Like you can get it. So it's like you want it, you get it. Like that's very much the energy.
Yes, the song is Fallen by Monsta X, which is a great hype song, by the way. So if you haven't heard it, do it. Also, you said you want it, you get it, and that makes me think of 8 Rings by Ariana Grande, which is a great manifestation song. She's also got a song called Just Like Magic. If you are trying to manifest, singing those songs will definitely help you with that, because the music that you sing can help you manifest as well.
Mm-hmm.
For how to harness some of these gifts, they sent out, I laughed when this came out, Amethyst, which is trust your intuition. Put that there over top the other amethyst. And then Dragonfly Spirit, which is truth transcends illusion. So for me, like that just kind of goes, I mean, they go hand in hand. Like you need to be able to trust yourself, trust your intuition. So right now, if you're struggling with things and you're like, well, I don't even know if that's really real, or like, did I make this up? Or like, like I'm not really sure what's right and what's not. Like you need to kind of tap into yourself and listen to yourself and know that like your heart is never going to steer you wrong. Like your brain, because you're somebody who has the king of air as your overall energy, like you might get kind of caught up in your head, like we were talking about. And like Lena talked about with like thought power. So it's really about listening to your heart over top of your head, because like your heart never steers you wrong. Your ego does. So always trust your intuition, and like truth transcends illusion. So like no matter what, the truth is always gonna, rule over the illusion at any point.
Mm-hmm. And what is true for you is not necessarily always true for others. So you have to follow your own truth and not the truth of other people.
Definitely. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw cards from our deck. So give me 1 second while I do that.
Now that Ariana Grande song is stuck in my head, I want it. I got it.
Colors. I'll put them out there as I shuffle. Past life regression. I mean, that kind of makes sense with the
Death
the
and Rebirth.
Yeah, the Scorpio energy. Ooh. You got music.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why, but all of a sudden the put a little love in your heart just popped in, so that could be for you.
You got life coaching.
Okay.
Hold on. I dropped a couple cards. Hold on. You got Reiki, energy healing. Oop. Okay. You got well, the last group got this. Animals. You got aromatherapy.
Mm-hmm.
You got sound healing. It's not really focusing very well. Sorry, guys. There you go. Astrology and Akashic records.
I should have said it earlier, but I was picking up on astrology for this group, and I was like, I don't know. There wasn't really anything that mentioned astrology. Damn it.
And writing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I almost missed that one. Okay, so those are some gifts that you possibly could have. Remember, it is a general reading, so if you don't have all of them, don't be like, well, this must not be for me. But it might just be some of them that you have. But if you see anything in there and you're like, I want to know more about that, please look it up, research it, see, if you like it, if it's something you want to try out, if you want to see if you can open up to that gift, then go ahead and do it. But those are kind of the gifts that we had for you guys. So that's really what I had. If you have any questions or anything, leave them in the comments. Give us a like, hit subscribe. We are also on Twitch twice a week right now on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then we also try to put up a reading every week. So hopefully that resonated for you. Again, the songs were Fallen by Monsta X, and then Just Like Magic and Eight Rings by Ariana Grande. So check those out. But hopefully we will see you in our next reading.
Yes, and that put a little love in your heart. I'm not sure why, but there you go.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
If you chose pile 5, you chose this rose quartz. It's a raw rose quartz. So this is going to be all about your gifts and talents. And we have tarot, we have oracle, and then we also have a deck of different gifts and talents that we will shuffle at the end for you guys. But we will get ahead into this, and we will go ahead and start with your tarot cards. We're going to start with your overall energy, which is the Queen of Cups. So someone who's very in touch with their emotions. We have the Three of Pentacles. We have the Ace of Cups. The Wheel of Fortune. And we have the Death card, which is not a bad card. Don't panic. So for me, what I pick up off of this is you are somebody who's very, very good with emotions, very good at understanding them. And you might be an empath. You might be somebody who can pick up on other people's emotions as well. I feel like you're somebody who's very nurturing and is able to really help others navigate their emotions. And you're someone who's very hardworking. You might have some creative talent because you notice they're doing something creative over here, whether that be in art or in some other form. But you're somebody who's very hardworking and able to get things done. You also have a little bit of luck on your side with the Wheel of Fortune. This is all about like destiny. So you might be someone that is spiritually connected. Usually this is about like following your path or following your destiny and like cycles going in the correct way. So you might also be somebody who's very good at breaking like karmic cycles or ancestral patterns. That's coming through for me. And then for death, like usually this is someone who's very good at, again, like ending things, like ending toxic patterns or karmic patterns or ancestral patterns and going through and starting over. So a lot of deaths and rebirths, like you could have Scorpio, you could have Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio. Water signs are big. And then Three of Pentacles is earth energy. But I feel very strongly that you're somebody who's very good with reinventing themselves and going in there and getting into those shadows and really helping yourself to evolve into that next stage. And then you're also someone who's very good at expressing that in a way that helps other people navigate their emotions and kind of sets them on track. And I think you might actually be somebody who's really good at like life coaching, because you might be someone who's really good at working with people with their destiny and kind of helping them be on their path and like go in a way that helps them get to like a higher state, a higher elevation. So that's kind of what I'm picking up, at least off of the tarot.
The card that is highlighted for me right now is that Three of Pence, and it's because that tells me that, like, and Becca kind of briefly touched on it, that you're really good at working with others. I think you're someone that, like, there are some people who, like, their journey a lot is to be kind of like on their own and like, doing their own thing. But I think you're someone that thrives off of working with other people. Collaboration is really big for you. You like to make people feel included. You enjoy making people feel special. Like she said, you might be a great life coach because you want to help other people find their shine. You want to help them end things that are no longer working for them. You want to help them dig into their deep emotions and pull them out and find out like what makes their heart sing, because that Ace of Cups is about like your cup runneth over. And I feel like you guys really want to, if you notice, the Queen of Cups is holding that same chalice. It looks like, at least from here. And so it's like you already have your chalice and you know what makes you happy, and I feel like you guys are seriously going after those dreams and you're working on them and you're not going to give up. And because of that, you will be gifted them by spirit, which is amazing and beautiful. But also your job is to help other people find that same thing. It's your job to work with them, to help them find their own chalice, to help them, end cycles that no longer work for them, to get them on their lucky path. And I think you actually really enjoy doing that, and that makes you extremely content. And so your biggest gift is your heart for the world.
Mm-hmm. It's very soft. Um, okay, so we'll go ahead, we'll look and see what other gifts we can get from the oracles. So the first one we got was pink fluorite, which is guidance, ease, and comfort. So somebody that's very nurturing again. And then you got angel phantom quartz, which is faith, healing, and renewal. So you might have some healing capabilities. You might be someone who does like energy healing, or some sort of healing in that way. Some of you might be doctors or nurses or work in like the medical career in some way, shape, or form. But healing is coming through. You have the sage, so someone who's very wise and very knowledgeable. And in the middle, they actually have, I think that's a crystal ball. So you might work with crystals, which I know they have energy healing that has to do with crystals too. You have Venus, which is love. So beauty, harmony, romance, charm, receiving sensuality, luxury, wealth, diplomacy, magnetism, value, pleasure, adornment, adoration, attraction, indulgence, taste, and style. And then you have Chiron, which is healing. Healing powers, growth, amends, release, personal development, inherited issues, self doubt, generational trauma, shame, sensitivity, forgiveness, superpowers, divinity, cleansing, softness, and pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then for your two, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, sorry. I forgot about these cards because it was a little while ago when I drew them. So, like, I totally forgot what was in here. But for your mediumship abilities, you got power of empathy,
Mm-hmm.
and the divine source. So working with spirit. So for me, this is a very spiritual pile. So this is probably a pile of people that are very connected spiritually. If you're not, take what resonates. Again, this is just a general reading. But for me, what I'm really picking up with this pile, there's a lot about like healing and a lot about like nurturing like, empathy, and then of course with the divine source, like being connected to source, being connected to spirit. So you might be somebody who's very good at channeling. You might have like you might be somebody that reads tarot cards or oracle cards. You might be somebody who has mediumship abilities. But I do see a lot about like energy healing or about healing in some way, shape, or form. Someone
Mm-hmm.
who's very sensitive, but in a good way, is very nurturing, loving, able to really, share that love with people and help them heal as well. But not only them, but like yourself. So like going in and like healing yourself, but also healing others at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's very good with like forgiveness and very good with like dealing with, like I said earlier, like that ancestral, like generational traumas, karmic patterns, like really good at breaking those, and healing through love, and is very empathetic.
100%, 100% agree. The cards that stick out to me the most with this are the Venus and Chiron. And your guides want to talk about the fact that like those are probably really important placements for you in your chart. They probably are very highlighted, and you should look into them, because if you're someone who's like, well, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, or like this doesn't, like if you're feeling lost, I feel like that's a good place for you to look and to reconnect with yourself, because I feel like your Venus placement and your Chiron placement are very highlighted. And like Chiron is that, like, I believe it's called the wounded healer archetype. Like that's like where our deepest wound is in our Chiron spot. So um with that card in particular, it talks a lot about healing and being soft. And then the Venus is a very loving energy. And so again, we talked about how you heal other people with your love. So, and I think that you guys have had slash have to transcend your Chiron, and that's where a lot of your power is going to come from. So depending on where that is going to depend on like what your biggest wound is, and like how you transcend that helps you like magnify your gifts even more, is really what they're saying. So like I know from personal experience, like I know Becca's Chiron is in Leo and mine is in Cancer. So for me, my biggest wound is my lack of self-worth. That is like my self-love is my biggest wound. So like when I transcend that, that's when I find my biggest like love and gifts. Like that's just a general for like people. Like when you transcend your Chiron, like it really helps you. And then for Becca with Leo, like that comes from her, I believe it is the wound in Chiron, like she takes a lot of influence from other people. So what other people say about her really takes her, really hits her in the heart. And so for her, it would be, again, like it's similar to finding her self-worth, but it comes from the fact of like not looking outside of herself to find it. And then the other one is like, and I don't know all the Chirons because I'm not as well versed in astrology, but that's just a little example for some of you. So like if you have, I would highly recommend looking into your Chiron and your Venus placements and seeing like how those correlate. But I feel that like, yeah, that really correlates to who you guys are. And that's what your guides really wanted to touch on, that those placements are really going to help you with your gifts.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree. If you need more information on astrology, please let us know. But astrology might actually be a strong suit for you, or might be a gift that you have that you haven't tapped into yet, too, since that's coming up. And then, as far as other advice they can give you to work through your gifts or finding your gifts and like where you're at right now, you got Lepidolite, which again, that came out in group number 3. So 3 and 4 both had Lepidolite come out at one point in time. But this is recall your dreams. So you might be somebody who astral travels, or dream interpretation might be important for you. But also like having a dream journal could be really, really helpful for you, because if you do get messages in your dreams, writing those down could really help you know like what direction to go or what path to take. You got lizard spirit, which is dream the world into being.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got starfish spirit, which is open to infinite possibility. So again, like dreams are really important right now. So pay attention to your dreams and, allow yourself to really dream big as well, are kind of the two things that I'm picking up off of those. So allow yourself to dream big and allow yourself to have those big dreams and to know that like they're still possible. So like don't sit too much in that practicality, because I know you had Capricorn on this card. So if you have like strong earth placements at all, like you might be a pretty grounded and practical person, and so it might be kind of hard to like sit in that more spiritual place sometimes. But basically spirits like allow yourself to imagine, like for instance, like your dream home. Like don't pay attention to the price tag, just say like, ooh, I like this and I like this and I'm going to put it in there and that's what I want. And like allow yourself to do that and have fun with it, and know that like you can have fun, you can want those things, and like those things can manifest for you. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to allow yourself to be open to receiving them. And another thing is with your dreams, um, really a lot of times dream interpretation, I know Lena mentioned this in one of the other groups, like you don't go online immediately and look up what your dreams mean. Try to put your meaning to those dreams, because chances are you're going to be 100 times more right than somebody online. So if you are someone that dreams a lot and you have a lot of, really big dreams, like of course seek out help if you need it. But I think the first step is to really go in and to, look at those dreams yourself and to say, what do I think that this is saying for me? Like, what do these things symbolize in my life? And one thing, another thing that I'm being called to mention is colors. So if you have a lot of like strong colors in your dreams at any point in time, look up what those colors mean, or think about what those colors mean to you in your life, and match those up, because sometimes those are just as important as what's actually happening in the dream. For some
Mm-hmm.
reason, that was coming through pretty strongly for me.
Is there a starfish on that Queen of Cups that we have?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought there was. Anyway, your guides were highlighting the starfish, so I thought that there might be one on that Queen of Cups, and then I was going to say that that might be a spirit animal for you. It still could be, since they were highlighting that. You might have a lot to learn from the starfish, so I would highly recommend looking into that and seeing what the starfish, maybe like you like starfish, so this could just be a confirmation for you. But that was the card that really like drew me in when she put these cards down. So I feel like she said, it is about getting away from your practicality for you guys and going into your more spiritual side and letting that be okay. Like it's kind of like letting that fleek no sorry, Mercury retrograde, that freak flag fly, and like being yourself and opening up and like being like, yes, I believe that crystals work, and I believe that energy healing works, and I do believe that, like, let's just say that, like, you do believe that puppies are the heart of the universe. Well, like, it's okay to believe that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. So you can say those things and have that be true for you. And we talked about this briefly in the last pile, but what's true for you might not be true for someone else, but you can't be afraid to be open and say that those things are true for you. And you might be like, yeah, I believe that all people are inherently good, because there are a lot of people who are cynical and who don't. And like with this group being so loving, I feel like you guys really love people. Like you guys are someone, like a lot of people are like, oh, I hate people, I don't want to be around people. And even if you're introverted, that doesn't mean that you don't love people, because I'm extremely introverted myself, but I do love people. Like I'm very interested in people and how they work and helping them. Like that's a big thing. And I know Becca's very similar. She's also very introverted, but we're both very like, we like people, we like to help. And so it's very much in that same sense of like, usually healers, again, which we got a lot about healing in this pile, they do really like people. And so, you're a needed light in this world. And so don't be afraid to basically shine.
Mhm. Yes, and I am currently shuffling our cards. So give me 1 second. Again, this is another group. We had, I think group 3 was the other one where they kind of wanted to send out the entire deck. This group is also one of those groups. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Okay, I'm done. That's plenty. Okay, fine. Okay, there's so many. All right, we have astral travel.
Mm-hmm.
We have elemental, so working with the elements. So that's going to be like fire, water, air, earth. Like you probably can work with all of them. So nature. Aromatherapy. Reiki, energy healing. Animals. Colors. So remember, I picked that up already. Teaching. Aromancy, cloud reading. Life coaching. Past life regression. Conchomancy, which is seashell divination. Dream interpretation.
I might have paid attention in math if it was math with seashells.
I know. Hydromancy, reading water. Channeling. And the last one is shamanism.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
First thing I want to say is your guides are talking to me about, like, because I'm really big into the ASMR Reiki that's on YouTube. I just really love it. Like, even if you don't believe in Reiki, I just find it personally really relaxing. I am picky about my ASMR though, I will say that, being honest, but I do have a couple that I really like, and you guys give me like straight up like Luna Nate vibes, in that sense of like being a healing person who's really wise and can like talk a lot like during those things, but like your words are just as healing as like the ASMR and the Reiki. Like that feels very prominent for you guys. And I always think about how she's so sweet, like um at the end of her session, she always says like, I bow to the divine in you and the divine in me. And I'm just like, that's so soft. Like, and that's the same vibe that I get here from you guys. She's a Cancer, so that makes a lot of sense actually, because she's very soft. And so I get that same vibe here, that you guys are like, you squishy, and like, and it's very like beautiful squishy, and like you have that same sense of like wanting to honor other people and like have them honor you in return. And I think that like I said, your love for others, your heart is your biggest gift. That's really what it is. Like you can do any and all of these things, but you have to do them with your heart because that's how you make them work.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Hopefully that gave you guys some ideas of what you have as gifts or talents. Remember, if you don't feel like you have all of them, remember that it's just a general reading. So you might only have some of them, you might have all of them, you might have some that aren't even out. Like I said, they kind of wanted to send out the whole deck, but
Mm-hmm.
basically, that's just an idea of things that you can look into and see if you're interested in them or if those resonate, excuse me, for you. So if you enjoyed it, please leave us a like, hit subscribe, comment down below what you thought. If you want any more information on any of these things, feel free to email us or talk to us. We are live on Twitch on Mondays and Wednesdays, so you're welcome to join us for that. But that is what we had for you today, and hopefully it resonated, and hopefully we will see you guys back here in our next reading.
Mm-hmm. Bye, guys.
If you chose pile 6, you chose the Amazonite. So this is going to be all about what your spiritual gifts and talents are. We have tarot, we have oracle, and then we actually have our own little special cards that we made. Oh, they're already flipping out for you, of gifts that you possibly have. So those are going to come out at the end. We're going to shuffle them. So sorry, Spirit, I will put those back. But we're going to go ahead. We'll start with your tarot cards. So for your energy, hold on. You got the Knight of Cups. And then you actually got an extra tarot card as well. So for your gifts, you got the King of Wands,
Okay.
the King of Cups,
Okay.
the Eight of Wands, the Ace of Coins. Let's see if it'll focus. There we go. A little bit better. And the Eight of Coins. So for me, the person in this pile is somebody who is very nurturing and loving, someone who's very good with their emotions, possibly really good at expressing those emotions through love, nurturing, care, because you have water here. You're also somebody who is very creative, maybe possibly pretty connected to spirit as well, very good at communication, someone who probably gets a lot of creative ideas and is able to really put those into place. So you probably get a lot of ideas that are really good for your stability. So you may be someone who actually works with creativity already. So you might be someone who uses that to make a living. So that might be your job. Like you might be an artist, you might be a musician, you might be someone who does something creative for their job. Your Eight of Coins is all about like hard work and putting in that hard work. So I feel like you're somebody who is very hardworking and does put in like their full heart and passion into whatever they do. And there's actually a star on this pentacle, which is making me think that, possibly some star quality. So, you could potentially become famous, or you could potentially be someone who's really well known for whatever it is that you do in some way, shape, or form. With the peacock feathers up here, I'm kind of getting like this vibe of someone who's very it's like you command attention a little bit just by who you are, but you're also someone who's very watery as well, because you have that Knight of Cups as your overall energy. So that's someone who moves with purpose and has a very powerful energy, but also is very nurturing and loving and sweet. So I feel like there's almost like this balance of duality, because with the King of Wands, the King of Cups, like those are two masculines, but one's fire and one's water. So very much like a duality there of like a balance between like fiery passion and like deep watery vibes. And I feel like this is more masculine. So it doesn't matter if you're a female or a male watching this, but you have a very strong inner divine masculine about you. So someone that is very good at being stable and grounded. And maybe you've had to learn that over time and go through some trials and tribulations, because even though this is the Eight of Coins, like you can tell like her hands and her feet are like bloody. So it's like you probably have had to go through a lot to get to where you are, but you're someone who can kind of transcend all of that. And there's a lot about like flight in here. You have like 1, 2, 3, 4 birds 4 different types of
Mhm.
birds. So, somebody who's very good at like transcending above that and probably pretty connected to spirit, honestly. Just with how much you have about like air and like flight, and then you have multiple wands cards as well. So very much feeling that for you guys.
Mhm. And I agree. First thing that popped in for me with you guys was the song. Is an oldie here. We have a hard day's night by the Beatles. Um, and it was very much that part about like where they talk about like it's been a hard day's night and I've been working like a dog and like I should be sleeping. And it says, but like when I get home to you, I find the things that I do make me feel all right. So I think it's very much that like you do this because you have a great love for it. And so like when you get home to like when you get to that end result, when you get to that goal where you're like, yeah, like all of that, everything that I went through was completely worth it. And then this can also be, um, reminds me like, and so this could also be about like a person. Like you might be someone who really values love and partnership and family. And so making these sacrifices is really worth it for you at the end of the day. Like working hard is worth it if you get to put food on the table for your family, if you get to live a life that like you couldn't otherwise live. And I was also going to say you have two eights, with the 8 of wands and the 8 of coins. So you guys might, a gift could potentially be numerology. I think that could come through, but it also could be that your guide sends you signs and synchronicities through angel numbers, and 8 might be one of them. And that's the number of like infinity. So that's like being really connected to spirit. That's again manifesting energy because of the magician. That's just very strong, strong, like again, spiritual energy. So very, very beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful. Let's go ahead and get into your oracles and see what we can find from there. Your first one is Blue Lace Agate, which is peace, gentle, and new beginnings. So there's that water energy. And then you have Rhodochrosite, which is relationships, healing, and karmic lessons. So a lot of healing in here already. You got, hold on. You got the Weaver, that sword.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm going to move that up there. And then you got, yeah, you got Pisces, which is the mystic. So imaginative, compassionate, healing, empathetic, mystical, adoring, magical, allowing, dreamy, ephemeral, enigmatic, spiritual, emotional, escapist, impractical, oceanic, self-pitying, and illogical. And then you got Trine, which is flow, which is harmonizes, aids, enriches, benefits, energizes, enjoys, eases, lubricates, gifts, rhymes, supports, and indulges. Also, one thing I want to mention about trines is if you have trines, like a grand trine in your chart, usually you have a very positive trait that has to go with whatever that trine is connected to. So you might have a trine that has to do with Pisces, which again, with Pisces being the mystic, that very much could lead to you being extremely connected intuitively, and emotionally as well. So I would check and see if you have any trines in your chart. Of course, a lot of people do because like trines are common in charts, but see if you have like a grand trine over your chart. But wherever those trines are, that creates ease and flow in your chart. So I would check your Pisces and see if it's trine to anything in your chart. And then you have time to heal and linking with spirit.
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys are very connected to spirit and very, very much healers. Like those are huge for you guys. You even have the hands with the 2 stars in here, which reminds me of Reiki. So you might be someone who's very good at energy healing or Reiki healing. But I also feel like you're someone who's very strong and very grounded in like who you are. And you might be someone who's very, very, very protected, or somebody who's very good at protecting themselves and others. So you might work with like crystals, you might work with like fire or the elements in order to help like protect. You might even be somebody, because you're so connected with spirit, who's able to communicate with like the archangels. So like you might be very connected to like Archangel Michael. with protection, because you have like the sword here and you have multiple kings. Like I'm kind of picking up on like that protection energy. And then as far as like healing goes, I think that you can heal in a lot of different ways. And I think that's like your one of your main big gifts is that you're a healer.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I was gonna say too, knights tend to be the ones that like defend the castle, and that's your overall energy. So like even though like a lot of people would be like, oh man, like I want to be the king, like you can be both the king and the knight, right? So like I think that your overall energy is because you are so protective. That's why that came out as your overall energy, because you still got two kings as far as your gifts. So you have that ability to be the leader, to be the king, but at the end of the day, you would much rather be the one to protect and heal and care for others than to be the one in charge. And so, even though you can do both, your real, true core essence is the fact that you love to protect and heal. And so, yeah, I would not be surprised if Archangel Michael works with you, because I think that you have the ability to help protect and heal others. And that might be something that you could even be someone who's really good at doing like protection spells or protection things, like protecting like I was getting this earlier with people. Like I was thinking about when we were talking about doing this reading, and how people, like, even if you work like a quote unquote regular job, right, and like say you're a doctor or you work in a restaurant, you can put on your food that you're serving to people protection in it, right? You can say, spirit, whoever consumes this food, may they be blessed, may they be protected, may they have, this. And like it can be literally that simple. And you just might have that power because you have that connection to spirit, that then it actually does help them. And can spread that. And that can again be in your music, in your in just your words, in your demeanor. Like that seems very, very prominent for you guys. Like you guys just are healing.
Hmm. Yes, definitely. So, what they recommend, I'm actually laughing and you'll see why in just a second. But what they recommend to help you with your gifts right now at this moment in time while you're watching this is rainbow. Oh, I'm dropping everything today. Rainbow obsidian, heal your heart. And this is why I laugh. Eagle spirit, spirit has your back. So, again, healing and spirituality. So I feel like, again, this is another group. The group right before this, if you were drawn to it, I would say definitely watch it, because they're very similar vibes as far as like, I think it's very connected to spirit and also like with healing. So this group, especially though, very spiritual group in my opinion. Like you have a ton about being connected to spirit. So I feel like with this group, like right now, like your biggest thing is to really trust that connection and know that like spirit's not going to let you down. And anything that's really like still kind of hurting you in the heart sense, like if you're somebody who is a little more sensitive, or you are someone that has a lot of like traumas or shadows that you're working through, like they're basically saying like, you know, heal your heart, be patient with yourself, give yourself self love, focus on that heart chakra, like really allow yourself to like feel and heal it and like let it go. And so like allowing yourself to heal and using your healing gifts on yourself first is very important, because we always talk about how you can't give from an empty cup. And so even though you want to heal the world, you have to make sure that you're taken care of too in that process.
Mm-hmm. And spirit is saying, instead of conceal, don't feel, they're saying feel, don't conceal. Yeah. So
Yeah.
very much that. And I'm also we were talking about healing. I was hearing like Healing by 17, so that could be like a song for you as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I am shuffling, maybe. Hold on. Again, this is the third group where they wanted to send out the entire deck. I'm shuffling these cards already. And honestly, like if these cards, so for instance, like if I put them out there and you're like, I don't know if I really resonate with all of those, like this is a general reading. So keep that in mind, that some of these might fit, some of them might not, but they are all worth looking into. So if you're interested in that, that's cool. Check it out.
Yes, and I think the thing that Spirit wants everyone to know is that like everyone can get access to any gift. It's just you might be more automatically inclined or interested in others, but you might be interested in them all, and you might be like, oh man, I wish I was a clairvoyant. And it's like, well, you can be, you just have to practice that. It might not be something that comes to you as naturally, but you can still tap into it. So if
Mhm.
you like, were hoping to like say get clairaudience and you don't get that, you can work at it and you can get better at it. You can, again, you're very connected to spirit. So all you have to do probably is ask and be like, hey, I'd like to develop this gift. And they'll be like, great, here's how.
Yes. Sorry. And the thing is like, I feel like for multiple groups, like some of you do have a lot of abilities and a lot of gifts and talents. And like, you can always access, even if you aren't someone where it's like your primary gift, like everybody can have gifts and talents. Like you can have these gifts and have them not be like your, top 10 or whatever, but still enjoy it. So like if there's something out there that you're like, oh, I'm not very good at that, but like I've always been super interested in it, then go for it. Like, you know, nothing wrong with that.
Yes, I'm getting those Mr. Feeney, what was it? Dream, try, do.
Yes. Stop. They're trying to send out like 50 of them at once. I'm like, stop it. Okay, I'm gonna give you like 3 more shuffles and that's it. Your guides are too generous.
No such thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So the ones that they sent out, we have clairsentience, we have writing, aromancy, which is cloud reading. Actually, that came out in the last group. So again, if you were interested, aromatherapy, Reiki, energy healing, communication, clairgustance, which is clear taste, past life regression, numerology,
Hey!
tarot oracle cards, candle magic, and music.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So hopefully that resonated for you. If you have seen some of these and you're like, I have never heard of that before, I highly encourage you to look it up and check it out. It might just be something that you find that you absolutely love. But hopefully this resonated for you. Hopefully, this gave you an idea of what some gifts and talents that you have are that you can develop and work through. But leave us a comment, a like, hit subscribe, let us know what you think. We are live on Twitch on Mondays and Wednesdays, so you can always join us there, and we try to put up a video every week as well. But that is what we had for you, and I'll let Lena repeat the songs.
Yes. We had a Hard Day's Night by the Beatles. We technically kind of had Let It Go. We had, what else did we have? Healing by 17. And I believe that was it. Yeah. I think that was it.
Yeah. So hopefully, check out those songs, but hopefully we will see you in the next reading.
Bye, guys.